Framer has impacted the market in a big way because it has become very easy to develop websites with Framer. And someone who has a good sense of design will find Framer a very easy tool to learn. So we are going to learn Framer, and we are going to learn basics of what goes into building a website. And This is the things that we are going to discuss. So we are going to discuss responsive design, like how do you build a website that will scale up or down. It doesn't matter what device you view the website. And then we are going to talk about stacks and grids, element positioning, animation, components. Then we'll also give you an homework exercise to do, and we'll also talk about hosting and publishing. So how do you host and publish your website? Okay, so if you know basic HTML and CSS, again, I think it will be easy for you to appreciate Framer. So it is not a requirement to know these languages, but if you know how HTML works, then it'll be easy. It's really easy for you to understand Framer. The most important thing you need to know in design, whether it's Framer or any other design tool, is layouts. So the way you arrange your layouts will determine the success or failure of your design. If the layout is very badly arranged and the user does not know what to look at or where to go, then your website is broken. So I've listed some no-code tools here: WordPress, Framer, Webflow, Wix, which I talked about just a minute back. And you can also experiment with these tools and compare and see for yourself which one of this is easy or difficult, and what is common among all of them and what is different. So it will give you a good overall knowledge of the no-code landscape. One of the most important aspects of Framer is, see, there are a lot of startups coming day in and day out, and they all need a website to go live. And at the same time, they don't need something very complex, and they also don't need to spend a lot of money on their website. So Framer is a boon for such companies, small and medium sized startups, because it can help you create websites very fast and go live in no time. So that's where Framer makes a lot of difference. And one thing you need to also keep in mind is no code does not mean no development, because you have to arrange all the contents of your website to conform to certain constraints of the device. So for example, if you're designing for both mobile website, mobile desktop and tablet, then you'll have to respect those constraints. And that is something you don't do as much in the design, but in dev you have to make sure it is works without any error on all devices. So if someone is going to come and tell you that you don't have to write any code, that does not mean you don't have to. There's no development involved. There'll be some amount of development involved, because you have to put those constraints in place. And design knowledge also helps a lot. So if you are doing some, for example, if you just want to be a pure developer, then there'll be a designer who will going to give you a finished design, and you have to implement it. But the moment you also start understanding design, your breadth of knowledge will also improve. You will understand why design is done in a certain way, who is it being done for, who is the user, and why are we using the elements that we are using. So design knowledge always helps, especially when you're using a no-code tool like Framer. So like I said, Framer is very closely coupled with Figma. Figma is a standard, industry standard now for design. And if you look at the interface between Framer and Figma, you will not find much difference. So it is easy to transfer your design from Figma to Framer, and that is something I would like you to do once the session is over. I want you to explore both these tools and see how you can be both a designer and a developer. I don't want you to focus only on development. Okay, so let's start with what is responsive design. Okay, so now I'm sure you would have seen, browse some websites both on your laptop, and on your mobile, and the way these elements appear on in different devices, is different. So this is basically what responsive design is all about. Your design should not break just because you see it on a different device. So for example, if you look at this diagram, it says content is like water. So it depends on what vessel you pour it in, the water will automatically take the shape of that vessel. It should be the same way for your content and design. It doesn't matter what device you see it in, you will always, the design should not break. And what you need to keep in mind as far as responsive design is concerned, that it is the width that varies primarily. The height can be infinite. it's all about the length of the page, but it is the width that you have to be very careful about. So, and what you will be doing as part of responsive design is you will design for different width ranges. So for example, here you see 4 devices. So this is a large desktop, this is a medium desktop, this is a tab, this is a mobile. So each of these devices falls within a certain device width range, and you will be designing or developing your website for all this device ranges, so that it doesn't fail on any device. That is what responsive design is about. So the two building, the most basic building blocks in Framer is, one is the frame itself, and the other is your stacks grids, right? And the other thing you need to keep in mind is padding and margin. So when I spoke about different sections of a website, each section can be spaced, that you have to maintain decent space between each section, so they don't appear very cluttered and close to each other. So a padding is something, a space that is within the box, and margin is a space that is outside the box. It is used to separate two contents. So in Framer, what you need to keep in mind is there's no concept of margin. Okay, so you can always adjust padding in any section or a container, and you can take care of the margin accordingly, but there's no way to separately set the margin. Okay, so I think the other thing that you need to keep in mind is the position of your elements. Now we built a stack where we had a headline, and we had a sub headline. So your elements can be in the stack, within the layout, they can be positioned in a certain way. So there are different types of positioning which is available in Framer. So they're called relative, absolute, fixed, and sticky. So relative is something, let's say you have a stack of items, and each item is relative to in position to the other item. This is called relative positioning, and this is the box container, and these four are elements which are positioned relative to one another, right? So this is called relative positioning. So if you see the black box, it is below something and above something, so that is called relative positioning. The next thing what we do is, it's called a absolute position. Now within the layout, you want something to be in the same position irrespective of what is happening with other elements. So that is called as absolute positioning. So let's say you have a stack, and you want some element to call out attention on the top right. So you can put an absolute positioning in here and set margins. So it can be like 24 pixel from the top and 24 pixel from the right accordingly, right? So this is absolute positioning. Fixed is it remains fixed, doesn't matter you go in the bottom of the page or in the top of the page, right? So for example, in a lot of websites, you see navigation bars. So if you scroll down or scroll up, the fixed element will always stay on top. So that is a fixed positioning. Similarly for sticky, the sticky is very similar to fixed, but it is within a certain container. So if the container goes out of view in the desktop, the sticky thing will also disappear along with the container. So there's a slight difference between fixed and sticky, right? So you have to make sure you understand this positioning well when you create your layouts, right? Then Framer also comes in with a lot of animation options. So it is not that your website has to be a very static website. So if I go to this Framer website, right, I'll just put this in play mode. So you can see how these elements are getting animated. They're all coming one after other. It looks very nice. It's not that the site is very static and dead, right? So there's a lot of elements which are animated. So this is something you can do very easily with Framer, and you have a lot of different options to kind of animate. You can rotate elements, you can make them appear in a certain sequence, or you can make them appear when you're scrolling. So Framer gives you quite a bit of choices when you want to animate your elements. The next thing I want to talk about is, it's called components. Okay, so if you think of large products, right? For example, if you use any SaaS product, which is composed of a lot of pages, a lot of functionalities. So you can't have each page or each element looking in a different way. It's the same with your website also. If your website has different pages, you can't have them look in a certain different way on different pages. So that's why you use something called as a design system. A design system is made up of components. So I'll just quickly show you what a component is. So for example, if you see this button, right? So this is made into a component, and if I go into edit mode, you can see different options for this component, right? So let us say I have, a 50-page website, and, I have 200 of those buttons. I don't want each of these buttons to look differently. And if I make a change in one place, then the button, that change has to be reflected across all the pages simultaneously. That is why I use a component. So a component makes it very easy for you to build design systems, so that, you can have a single source of truth for, each of this component. And if you go back to, in your website, you have nav bars, right? So even this is a component. So if you go to different pages of the website, this nav bar and, even the footer, they will all be consistent. You will not have different footer in different places, right? So all these are components. So components helps you build a consistency, across all your websites. So once you start building a multi-page website, whatever gets repeated, you have to make them into a component, so that, there is consistency. So publishing, it is very easy to publish your website. For example, if I come here, so once I finished building my website, right, all I have to do is hit publish, and, it will, Framer will give me a default link, which you can share with people. So let's say you build a new website, and, you want your customers to see what is here. So, you can share this link. But let's say now you want to add, say, your own domain name. Let's say, you're saying flipkart.com. So what you need to do is you have to go into your settings, and you will have domains. So you will purchase your domains from people like GoDaddy, or, hosting, whoever your domain master is, and you will connect that domain to the Framer host. So Framer will give you a list of IP addresses that you have to connect. So once you do that, so once you go back to your domain name, let's say flipkart.com, you will see your design. So it's very easy to publish your website. Yeah. Yeah, so there is a link here in the PPT, the example I just showed you, it is there on Framer. So, you duplicate that link and, build the entire site. And, once you have done that, you share it with us, we'll give you feedback and, see how you can improve. And so this will be your exercise. It's not as challenging as it is, it's very easy to build your website, but make sure your fundamentals are very clear. The first fundamental in Framer is the frame itself. So each website is a frame, each page is a frame which is made up of multiple frames, right? Frame is how you use to contain your content and build your layouts. The second thing is stacks and grids. So based on how you want to arrange your content, do your stacks and grids properly. This will give your page structure and, a consistency, right? The other things are all nice to have, positioning and nice to know and nice to have, but these are also the basics. So once you get your basics right, the rest is left to your imagination, right? If you see a very beautiful website, underneath it will only be these things, very basic stuff, but how you have imagined. So that's why I asked, also learn Figma. Once you, get creative and, create something, special, it becomes very easy to organize that content using these fundamentals, right? So get these fundamentals right, and, start building the website. So you can go to framer.com. Framer has a lot of learning videos. You can log in there and, start learning. And the other thing is, this is just a basic. You can also become a full-fledged designer, build your own portfolio, and, start applying to companies. So we will also plan to, introduce courses for, advanced Framer and portfolio building. So if you're subscribed to Smarties Club, you will get some notifications. So, please subscribe and, look out for these notifications. Okay, cool. Thank you for joining, and thanks for taking this lesson. And we can connect if you have any doubts later. Cool. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Bye.